They can play, but don't move. Don't move yet. You know what? Let me I figured those drums would get everybody's attention. That was to wake everybody up. We'll give a few more minutes for folks to be seated, and then we'll start with our program. Is that okay? Let me hear y'all make some noise out there. All right. Well, good evening, everyone. Good evening to the city of Hartford, to the brothers of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. We welcome you to our 86th Eastern Regional Convention. I was going to say convocation as if I was in church, but convention here at the Convention Center in the great city of Hartford. Please give yourselves a round of applause. At this time, I'd like to bring to the podium the Reverend Dr. Marshall B. Muntz, who will provide our invocation.
Let us pray. Kind Father, in Jesus' name, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this moment. We thank you for your power and your presence. We thank you, Lord, for these alpha men and for their incredible contributions to our community and to our world. I pray tonight that even as we begin to talk about our young people, that we will be mindful of the incredible blessings that you have given us to be able to serve, to love, and to be the best you've called us to be. Have your way not just tonight, but throughout this weekend, and we will give you praise. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
At this time, I'd like to bring to the podium Carl Stephen Wilson, who will provide the National Negro Anthem alongside the posting of colors. What I'll have everybody do, please stand.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as a rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. Stony the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod, felt in the days when hope unborn had died, yet with a steady beat had not our weary feet come to the place for which our Father sighed. We have come over a way that with tears has been watered. We have come treading our path through the blood of the slaughtered. Out from the gloomy past, here now we stand at last, where the white gleam of our bright star is cast. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, thou who hast brought us thus far on the way, thou who hast by thy might led us into the light. Keep us forever in the path, we pray. Lest our feet stray from the places, our God, where we met thee. And hearts drank. Get thee shadowed beneath thy hand, may we forever stand true to our God, true to our native land.
You may be seated. You all may be seated. I got to tell you, from the podium looking out into the audience, it's absolutely amazing to see the number of people out on a Thursday evening making it to the Connecticut Convention Center during rush hour here in Hartford. Y'all know how it is in Hartford for all of our Hartfordites here, our Hartford natives. But again, welcome. Welcome to our 86th Annual Eastern Region Convention public program right here for our community. I'd like to bring to the podium our local host committee co-chairman, Brother Marvin L. Vinay. He's our president of ONECA and District 2 director. Give him a round of applause.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is great to see all of you here, as Brandon has indicated, at such an hour to be with us as we celebrate the work of Alpha that we have done over the last year and for some of us years. I just want to simply say to you on tonight that it is our hope that our youth continue to see us as a voice, they continue to see us as leaders, and they continue to see us as creators of change, so that we can help them change the trajectory in which is going to lead them towards success. And that is the reason why we do programs of this nature, because we truly believe in creating the future and not allowing the future to create itself. And so we hope that you all enjoy our panelists. We thank you all in advance for all of your hard work that you do on the ground, and we look forward to hearing your voice tonight as we understand that you will give us perspective on how we can go out and continue our work. Thank you, and again, welcome to ONECA.
So you have on your program greetings by the mayor of the city of Hartford. If any of you are familiar with the political process here in the city is going through budget hearings on this evening. So he stopped by our pre-reception that we had, so we thank him for being here, but we're going to move on with the program. We also have on our program one of my favorite brothers who happened to just be the vice president of Aetna as well. And I'd like to bring to the podium Brother Floyd Green. Aetna is actually one of our sponsors for this convention, our key sponsor if you really want to know. And so you all give Floyd Green a round of applause. He hates it all, and I'm okay with it. But I gotta say, without individuals and leaders that really understand the importance of reaching back into our communities and utilizing their roles and their leadership to uplift our community. And so I am so honored to stand on the same podium with this brother, and I'd love for him to bring greetings on behalf of Aetna.
Thank you, Brandon, our future President of the United States. Someday soon, you heard it here. I am just delighted, on behalf of Aetna, I'm just delighted to be a part of this public program tonight. We'd like to say thank you to the panelists. Your work that you have done and continue to do is inspiring communities, not just here, but around the state and around the nation. And so we appreciate you. The information that they will be giving and sharing their perspectives will be seeds for us to sow and for us to take and nurture in hopes that we can multiply this great work in communities where we live, work, and play. To our honorees, we are excited to be a part of the program because we know the work that you're doing. You're making an incredible difference all across the city, and we're so delighted to be able to celebrate you. We're partners with many of you. We know your great work, and we just can't just be too excited over the fact that you're being acknowledged tonight. We're overly excited. To the brothers who have joined us from all over the Eastern region, Aetna welcomes you to the great city of Hartford, to the great state of Connecticut. We know that you are going to have an incredible time sponsored by the Eastern region, and to the great brothers of Beta Sigma Lambda. And to all of our guests who have joined us tonight, Aetna says thank you for attending, thank you for making a difference, and thank you for just showing the folks here that you care. On behalf of our chairman and behalf of our 50,000 employees worldwide, we wish you all much success, and we know everything will be fantastic. Thank you.
All right, so nobody told me being a state rep and serving on the local host committee would be as intense as it has been. And it's been a wonderful journey to serve in this capacity with a group of brothers that really are committed not just to our fraternity but to our community. And so I'd like for the local hosts, if you can just stand just for a second, please. Just stand up, stand up. Y'all give these brothers a round of applause for all of the work they've done into making tonight possible. At this time, we are going to allow our National Pan-Hellenic Council greetings from all of our members, but I really want to turn this over to our illustrious leader, our vice president, to provide a few remarks, and then we'll transition into all of our representatives of the Divine Nine. Please give a round of applause to our Eastern Region Vice President, Lucian Lutilis.
Good evening, everyone. Now, I know that the hour is only 7 o'clock, and some of us have just gotten off work, and some of us have been in session all day and in training if you're an alpha man. But I know that we have a lot more energy than that, so so I'm like the Baptist preacher. If I don't get an amen, I'm gonna be up here a little bit too long. So when I say good evening, I want to hear a good evening back. Good evening, everyone. There it goes. There it goes. So I just want to thank the brothers of Beta Sigma Lambda and Kappa Delta chapters for allowing something that I had expressed to them as a concern of mine, which was to do direct community impact. And when I approached Brother McGee about it, I said, Brother McGee, I can't do the typical public program. And Brother McGee said, Brother Metellus, I'm glad we're on the same page. And so he took the reins, and I want to give Brother McGee a personal and a public thank you for the hard work that he's done. Now, before I bring up my fellow Divine Nine members, I want to acknowledge some VIPs in the room. First, I would like to acknowledge the 25th Eastern Regional Vice President, Brother Dennis Kemp. Brother Kemp, could you please rise and be recognized? And we have our national Miss Black and Gold, Sabrina K. Victor. Could you please stand and be recognized? Now, at this point, the most important thing that we can come out of here is with a real plan to help the Hartford community. I told the brothers of Kappa Delta and Beta Sigma Lambda that we were here to do the convention for 5 days, but we would not be here. We would be here for a longer time to do community impact. And you have the full support of the region to make those things happen. We need to, because our kids are in danger. Our people are in danger. And when I talk about our people, I'm not just talking about Black people. I'm talking about Latinos. I'm talking about poor whites. I'm talking about any disenfranchised people. They're in danger right now. And so that it is important that we get together and do direct community impact. So this public program is about direct community impact. So at this time, as I make my comments brief, we will hear from my fellow NPHC representatives. First, we will hear from Sora Kathy Payton, Cluster 5 Co-Coordinator for the North Atlantic Region, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Could you give her a round of applause?
To the Eastern Region Vice President, Brother Lucian Metellus. To the Eastern Region Assistant Vice President, Harold Daniels III. The brothers of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, distinguished guests, friends, and family, good evening. On behalf of our regional director of the notable North Atlantic region, Ms. Meredith L. Henderson, and the members of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, I bring you greetings and words of congratulations on your 86th Eastern Region Convention. My name is Kathy Patton, and I currently serve as the co-coordinator of the Mighty Cluster 5 area of the North Atlantic region. Our regional director regrets she could not attend this event, but wanted you to know that your theme, the urgency of now, from compliance to action, and youth leadership development, is one that resonates throughout the programming we do in our 10 regions, inclusive of our international region, and we now host a membership of over 300,000 members. While the programs may vary and names change, our goals are always the same. This past week, my chapter, Theta Epsilon Omega, of New Haven, had the honor of assisting our undergraduate chapter, Xi Omicron, in welcoming in 8 new young ladies. During their luncheon, I shared with their families and friends that it is a blessing when we can present positive images of our young people that exist in our community, and one that distracts from the negative ones that are depicted in the news media. Ones that deem it appropriate to report that an African American child who should be celebrated for being accepted into 20 colleges is otherwise referred to as obnoxious. We should require that when schools in our neighborhood stand up and protest the same principles of nonviolence and gun control as do the schools with the predominantly less students of color also be televised and recognized. So yes, there is an urgency for us to move from compliance to action. When I shared with my husband, who is a life member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, that I would be coming this evening. That's all right, gentlemen. He knew to grab a good thing when he saw it. When I shared with him I would be coming this evening, there were questions. But I reminded him that when we met over 40 years ago, in college, we both became members of our organization, and I reminded him as students of color, we were the minority on the campus. And though most of the Divine Nine were represented, it was more important to us to support each other through the adversities we faced at that time. Regardless of the colors we proudly wore for our sororities and fraternities, we learned the importance of celebrating the person and not the symbol. We knew that as an African American youth, when one of us succeeded, we were all successful. That should continue to be the same today and always. So to my Alpha brothers, we again congratulate you and celebrate you on your regional conference, but let us all remember that even after today, and after this weekend, that regardless of the beautiful colors we all will continue to proudly wear, we should maintain our support of each other and pass that expectation on to the youth who we should all work to develop into great leaders. So thank you. On behalf of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, we want to present you with this gift and again congratulate you.
Thank you. So next we will have representation from Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Takesha Everett, President, Hartford Alumni Chapter.
To the brothers of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, your regional leadership, your national leadership present, and distinguished guests, good evening. My name is Takesha DeWine Everett, and I am the president of the Hartford Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. And on behalf of our regional director, Eastern Regional Director Rosia Blackwell Lawrence, and our homegrown in Hartford, National First Vice President Cheryl A. Hickman, both of whom could not be here this evening, and the 135 members of our chapter, I welcome you to the city of Hartford. We wish you great success in conducting your business while you're here over these coming days, and want to share our congratulations and our commitment to your theme of the urgency of now, from compliance to action, youth leadership development. There could be no more timely subject to have in this day, because we in this community of Black Greek-lettered organizations have an obligation to grow, foster, and support our young, current, and future leaders. And here in Hartford, we share that commitment. Every third Saturday from September to April, we spend our time with at least 60 young ladies here in the Hartford area for our Delta Academy, Delta Gems, and Little Sisters with Books programming. We know that it's important to spend time with these young ladies here, because if they don't have mentors, if they don't have education, if they don't have the support of young women like our chapter, young and old, I should say, seasoned, if they don't have our support, they will fall prey to all of the negative messages that come forth on social media, in the media, and from their colleagues and friends in schools who don't support their growth in education. So we stand committed to your theme, and we know, as you do, that if we in this community rest on our individual and collective laurels, thinking that we have made it, and do not take our time, money, and effort to invest and build and recognize leadership in our next generation, then we have missed the mark, missed our purpose, and missed the original thing that called us to our individual organizations. So thank you again for your work, your commitment to purpose-driven leadership, and again, best wishes for a successful conference. And Brother Metellus, who I know so well, on behalf of our chapter, I would love to give you this small token, and again, wish you great success this weekend.
We will now have a representative from Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, Eric Gardner, President, Phi Delta Zeta Chapter, Greater Hartford area.
To Lucian Metellus, Eastern Region Vice President, Dr. Everett B. Ward, General President in his absence, members of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, my sorors of Zeta Phi Beta, to my brothers of Phi Beta Sigma, fellow Divine Nine, and guests, good evening. Again, my name is Erica Gardner, president of the phenomenal Phi Delta Zeta chapter of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. I'm nervous, and I don't know why. I apologize, everybody. So my chapter, Phi Delta Zeta, has served the Greater Hartford area for over a decade. Will the members of Zeta Phi Beta please stand with me at this time? I greet you all on behalf of Dr. Mary Bro Wright, International President, Sora Janet Y. Bivens, Esquire, Atlantic Regional Director, the Atlantic Region Executive Board, and all of the members of the awesome, astounding, and amazing Atlantic Region, covering Maine to Maryland, Germany, England, and Belgium. Now, just as a side note, my regional director could not be here with us tonight because she is with our brothers of Phi Beta Sigma in Hawaii. But I looked at weather.com, and it's supposed to rain all weekend, so the joke is on her. Members of Alpha Phi Alpha, as you convene on your 86th Eastern Region Convention, I charge you all with the responsibility of implementing and executing a plan of action for your theme, as you continue your over 111-year quest of scholarship, fellowship, good character, and uplifting of humanity. Alpha Phi Alpha, like Zeta, addresses concerns that impact society educationally, civically, and economically. The work that Alpha Phi Alpha has done and the contributions that you have made to our society for over a century is remarkable and is to be commended. Zeta is also approaching our 100th year, and I hope that you gentlemen will consider joining us in Washington, D.C. in June of 2020 for our centennial celebration. For the hardworking leader of this region, Lucian Metellus, here's a token of love. I'll give it to you in a second. Here's a token of love as we wish you well on what we know will be an awesome conference. Thank you for everything that you do for your region, and we hope that you have a blessed conference.
Next, we'll have a representative from Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated.
Will the sorors in the room please stand? To the men of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, on behalf of the women of Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated, I bring you greetings. Unfortunately, our regional Madam Syntactes, Marika Harris, and our, excuse me, I'm nervous also, and our Area 4 coordinator, Pamela Washington, is unable to attend because we have our own regional conference going on currently, and they're in Pittsburgh. It's not as exotic as Hawaii, but greetings to the General President Everett B. Ward in his absence. Greetings to the Regional President Lucian Metellus, who is present this evening. Greetings to the Assistant Regional Vice President Harold Daniels III and the Chapter President of Beta Sigma Lambda Glenn Spencer, who are both in attendance. Lastly, greetings to all the men of distinction in attendance tonight. On a national scale, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated has served the community since 1906. That's over 120 years of service and impacting change. The women of Sigma commend you on all of your dedication. The ladies of Theta Alpha Sigma Hartford Alumni Chapter also applaud Beta Sigma Lambda for their continued service to the local community since 1940. With partnerships such as March for Babies and programs for our youth like Alpha Academy, you maintain your role as a leader in the community. I stand with all our brothers and sisters of the Divine Nine and wish you a successful 86th Eastern Region Convention. And we also have a small token of our appreciation. Thank you so much for having us.
So I don't know what you brothers did to make them nervous. Brother Jackson, you gotta keep us in prayer, right? So we're gonna keep it moving along. However, I will say that it's always good to see the women come out, because wherever we need help, women are always leading the way. And we want to thank the women that have come up before us. For the work that you have done. That being said, now we get to the fraternities. And so first I'm going to ask Frater Craig Chisholm, the Northeast Province Polemarch of Kappa Alpha Psi, to join me at the podium.
You want to try that again? No, don't do it. It's bad enough I wore the jacket and you mess up the calling, you know, you're killing me. Good evening. Good evening. On behalf of the 33rd Grand Polemarch Thomas L. Battles Jr., the Grand Board of Kappa Alpha Psi, the Grand Board, the board members of Northeastern Province, the brothers from Hartford alumni who have just killed the call of the... It's okay. I don't know why you're nervous. Yeah, they're all right. It's probably something I did, so don't hold it against them. Yeah, I won't suspend them. I won't suspend them. I will say that we had the fortune of having our our 88th Province Council here just a month ago, so I'm quite sure that the city of Hartford will paint the town all gold and black for your arrival. So I'm quite sure, and I'm confident you will enjoy yourself. To the 28th Eastern Regional Vice President, Frater Metellus, to the 59th Eastern Region Assistant Vice President, Frater Daniels, let me first congratulate you on convening your 86th Eastern Region Convention, and for your theme, our task is endless, engaged excellence across the East. You know, in today's climate, we can't take the opportunity to gather and plan for the work needed for the members of your organization as well as our communities for granted. You know, I think about our founding as two organizations founded PWIs. Things don't look much different today than they did back in the early 1900s. So the activities you'll have here over the course of your convention will not only benefit those that you serve throughout the Eastern region, but I'm confident will have an impact on communities around the world. So I'm just going to get out of the way, as I always do. Let me just say and offer you God's blessing. May He provide you the courage, the cognition, and the commitment to continue the work that Alpha has before it. Frater, before I get off the stage, let me do one quick thing. This is for you, sir, and this is for your assistant, who is not here, but I saw something that, you know, might want to give me something. I take that. All right. Just a hint. If the brothers from Kappa Alpha Psi could please stand and recognize our Frater Alpha Phi Alpha. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you so very much. Thank you all. God bless. All right, take care, sir. Thank you.
All righty then. We will move on with the program. We'll now hear from Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, Anthony Lilly, District and Fatherhood Mentoring Chairman.
Behold, how good and pleasant it is for brothers to dwell together in unity. It is like the precious ointment upon the head that ran down upon the beard, even Aaron's beard, that ran down to the skirts of his garments. Psalms 133. Greetings, brothers of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. My name is Brother Anthony Lilly, and I'm the First District Fatherhood and Mentoring Chairperson for the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. And I bring greetings on behalf of our 31st First District Representative, Francois Filzamin. We want to congratulate you on your 86th Eastern Regional Convention. It is quite clear that you are the Alpha and we are the Omega. We cannot have one without the other. And as the District Chairman for Fatherhood and Mentoring Initiatives, we stand ready to work, partner, and collaborate with you in the future. May you enjoy your time here in the beautiful city of Hartford and the great state of Connecticut. Thank you. My old fours.
We will now have the representative from Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated, Marlo Simon, Northeast Area Director. Okay. Oh, okay. So Marlo became ill and was not able to attend, but I did want to mention that the Brothers of Phi Beta Sigma did make a donation to the Eastern Region's initiative at this convention, I Play, I Read, which was started under Brother Harold Daniels, and I want to take a second. The reason Brother Harold Daniels III, the Assistant Vice President of the region, is not here is because he came to the convention and he had to leave to go back to class this evening. So he was being an academic instead of staying. I always tell the brothers, the college brothers especially, if it's a choice between academics and socialization, always choose academics, and he chose to be exactly where he needed to be tonight. So he drove back to New Jersey so he could get to his night classes tonight, and he'll be returning later on tonight. But back to the main point, the Brothers of Phi Beta Sigma, made a donation to his I Play, I Read initiative, where we donated books to the local Hartford community schools for the purposes of improving the libraries of these schools. So I want to give the Brothers of Phi Beta Sigma a round of applause for that effort. So from Iota Phi Theta Fraternity Incorporated, we have Edgar Ferreras, who will come and bring greetings.
Last time I attended a public meeting, some lighthearted jokes were made. I was asked to please be nice. I will be so. Okay. Welcome to the Brothers of Alpha, both near and far, to our fellow MPHC sorors and fraters. My name is Edgar Ferreras. I'm the Polaris of the Tau Omega Alumni Chapter for Iota Phi Theta Fraternity Incorporated. Welcome to Hartford, folks. A warm welcome to the community partners, politicians, clergy, and others here in support of these good brothers. On behalf of the Tau Omega Alumni Chapter and of the Atlantic Coast region of Iota Phi Theta Fraternity Incorporated, I welcome you all to Connecticut. I hope that your meeting is productive and that your agenda is met and goals are achieved. We appreciate your invitation and thank you for including us in your program. In the spirit of being thankful, I'd like to thank you all for your work. Alpha Phi Alpha has a long history of service, and that fact is not unknown here in Connecticut. On behalf of Connecticut, thank you for your work and your positive impact throughout our small state into the communities beyond. A special thank you is in order to your local and regional leadership. These are the gentlemen who coordinate, plan, and execute the programs we all get to enjoy. That work is much appreciated by all of us. In order for that work to be successful, your leaders pay much attention to detail. Who better than an alpha man who have such a rich history of inspiring action to pay such close attention to the details necessary to truly serve all and mobilize action. In the spirit of that appreciation, I brought both Mr. Metellus and Mr. Daniels a humble gift that highlights that attention to detail. Gentlemen, thank you all for your work. Iota appreciates your invitation and looks forward to working together in the future.
Thank you to all the fratters and sorors that came and brought greetings. I want to take a moment to thank my fellow fraternities. If we're going to save the black boy, it is not just going to be an Alpha Phi Alpha effort. It's going to be an Alpha Phi Alpha, Kappa Alpha Psi, Omega Psi Phi, Phi Beta Sigma, and Iota Phi Theta effort. We can do great things together, but we can't do great things selfishly alone. So we need every black man under the sound of my voice to find somebody to mentor so that we can be the change in the next generation. So as I leave the podium and turn it over to our most capable MC, Brandon McGee, I want to thank you all again, fratters and sorors. Even though some of you are sitting in the crowd, we truly appreciate your presence here because we know without our friends in NPHC, no change can truly come. So thank you and have a good night, everyone.
Thank you so much, Brother Metellus. As a young black man growing up in North Hartford, I witnessed daily reminders of my potential for becoming a statistic. But I also had mentors who, through their guidance, kept me out of harm's way. They and my family ensured I pursued an education and persisted on a path forward. Education is a profound determinant of how our lives are shaped. The vast majority of in-demand positions require some sort of post-secondary education, and some research suggests that literacy levels are as early as third grade provide a predictor of involvement with the criminal justice system. Decades after Brown versus Board of Education and the related Coleman report, the disparities in education outcomes for black and brown children have narrowed only slightly. That report found that 87% of white students scored ahead of black students in both math and reading. Today, that number stands at 72%. The more disheartening news is that when we talk about Connecticut, when we talk about the achievement gap between black and brown children after their white peers is the widest in the nation. Did you all hear what I said? The widest in the nation. So many efforts have attempted to improve education here in the great state of Connecticut, from Prudence Crandall in the 1800s, who defied racial discrimination by opening one of the first schools for African American girls here in Connecticut, to Horton versus McCaskill, which ruled that public schools or public school students are entitled to equal enjoyment of the right to education without regard to disparities in town wealth. From Chef versus O'Neill in the 1970s, which ruled Hartford schools were detrimentally segregated, to the most recent CJEF case here in Connecticut, which alleged that the state was shortchanging poor communities. The inequity persists. The advantages of a society that embraces an inclusive system of equitable education are clear, but too many of our children are left behind. How do we get to a place where gender, socioeconomic status, race, or ethnicity are not predictors of educational attainment? How do we ensure that the access to quality education is accessible to all of our children? And how do we confront the reality that students who aren't on track in their education are more likely to be incarcerated, unemployed, underemployed, and destined to a life of poverty? This evening's conversation will tackle those questions and more. And I'm honored, I am so extremely honored to welcome a panel of distinguished community leaders who will discuss the issues of educational inequity, criminal justice, community development, and so much more. Our panelists include Pastor Ronald Holmes to my left and your right. Wave your hand as I call your names, and you all can give them a round of applause. Pastor Ronald Holmes is the president of the Interdenominational Ministerial Alliance. We also have, at the very end, Scott Esdell, the president of the State Conference of the NAACP branches of Connecticut. Jay Williams, the CEO of the Hartford Foundation for Public Giving. David Rosado, Chief of the Hartford Police Department. Charlene Russell Tucker, Chief Operating Officer of the Connecticut State Department of Education. Jill Spinetti, CEO of the Governor's Prevention Partnership. And I tried to practice this young lady's name, and I saved her to the very end because she is the reason as to why we are here. She is our Youth Leader of the Year at the Boys and Girls Club right here in Hartford, and I'm gonna kill her name and she'll correct me later. Jasaida Esverido. No, sort of? I messed that up. And I did good in Spanish when I... Say your name in the mic. Say your name in the mic so folks will get it. It's on.
Jasaida Acevedo.
Acevedo, I got it. Let's give them all a round of applause. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna allow for each of them, and they've been emailed, so you already know the drill. This is gonna be an informal conversation with you, the community, and those on this panel. We wanna utilize their perspective. We wanna utilize their experience from all walks of life. So tonight, this is our coffee chat. This is our time. We don't have the fire, so just think there's a little fireplace in the front, and we're all sitting here, and we're talking about what's happening in our community. So I'm gonna start off with the young lady from the Boys and Girls Club, and she's going to give us a quick little story, and then you all just jump in and you give your 1 to 2 minute, and then we'll go into Q&A.
Well, can you hear me? Oh, okay. Well, it's really nice to be here today. My name is Jasaida, And I've been a 13-year member of the Boys and Girls Club. And in the past year, I had the honor of being the Boys and Girls Club of Hartford Youth of the Year. It was a journey to get to that point. I remember I grew up in Hartford, and I remember going to school and not having the best experience and finding trouble, like getting comfortable at school. So at a very young age, I dealt with anxiety and depression, and it was very difficult to keep moving forward and finding a place to be comfortable in. A lot of problems were found at school, but even at home, I wasn't able to find that peace. Sorry. I think it was after I joined the Boys and Girls Club is when I started feeling more comfortable with myself. At the Boys and Girls Club, they don't see troubled children. No child is a troubled child. They try to understand you, and they try to find what they can help you with. With me, for the first week, of course, I didn't feel comfortable. But after a month, I was excelling. I found my peace. I found my people. I found a family. 13 years later, I'm working at the Boys and Girls Club as a youth development professional. Working with kids that come in with the same experience that I have. And it's an honor working at the Boys and Girls Club. I feel like I'm giving back the same way the staff gave back to me 13 years ago. It was through the Boys and Girls Club that I had a lot of my first out-of-state trip, there's so many.
All right, don't tell them all. Y'all in the budget, you fine. We got money for Boys and Girls Club, we're good.
Yeah.
But go ahead, you got 30 more seconds.
But it's thanks to the Boys and Girls Club that I am the person I am today. They helped me build my character. They were the ones that helped me get into college, get scholarships to go to college. And it's thanks to them that I'm the first in my family to go to college and getting my degree. But I'm not done yet. I'm gonna keep working hard. So at one point I could give back to my family, but at the same time give back to the wonderful Boys and Girls Club that have been there for 13 amazing years.
Thank you so much. So if y'all just jump in. Y'all just jump in or I'll call on you. Jay, you go first.
Well, thank you, Brandon, and good evening, and to all the fraternities and sororities. My name is Jay Williams. I am the president of the Hartford Foundation for Public Giving and a relatively new transplant here to Hartford. And while my family and I are new to Hartford as a city, we are not new to the Hartford experience. I was born and raised in Youngstown, Ohio. So if any of you are familiar, there you go. So the challenges and the opportunities are very similar. When you hear, and thank you for inviting me, and thank you for having Josiah start off and share her story. Hartford Foundation is a community foundation, again, the oldest and largest in the state of Connecticut, one of the oldest and largest in the country, and we exist for the sole purpose of individuals who are very philanthropic and generous in their wealth and in their financial resources that give to the foundation so we can then partner with individuals, with more importantly organizations, to establish programs so you can hear more stories like Josiah. Again, I've been here 8 months, and the work that the staff has been doing and that we continue to do, I think really speaks to the issues that we're here to discuss tonight. Youth development. addressing the issues in a culturally competent way. We provide financial resources to support nonprofit organizations, and that's the easy part. It's easy to write a check, but it's more difficult to write a check to support programs that are culturally competent. They understand that the challenges that our young people face, our young men and women of color, but particularly the young boys of color face, can't be easily addressed simply by writing a check. It takes the partnerships, it takes a sensitivity, it takes an understanding, and we do that through partners on the ground here in the greater Hartford region. It is the city of Hartford and 28 surrounding communities. When she talked about the Boys and Girls Club, the work that Sam Gray and his entire team are doing, and Josiah's picture is up in so many places at the Boys and Girls Club. Places like the YMCA, some of the traditional places you've heard, but some other places that you may not have heard of. Capital Workforce Partners. We partner with them in a number of ways for, again, youth development, behavior and mental health put forward in a culturally competent way. We work with the Hartford Police Department on some of their tactics and strategies, not just on the policing side of it, but the community engagement side of it. And I think that's what I'm most proud and most excited to talk about, is that here in the city of Hartford is a foundation that has significant resources, but more important than that, it has a board and a staff that is oriented to making sure that we deploy those resources, those partnerships in a way that address so many of the issues that we are here to discuss. So I'm looking forward to the Q&A, to the engagement, to hearing, and what I really hope to walk away with this evening is our new partners, new opportunities to make sure that while the work that we're doing has had some impact, that it becomes more sustainable, and it's really, as it was talked about, I'll end with this, through the mentorship, through the involvement. So, I'm here eager to hear, eager to walk away, and to be challenged to deploy greater resources financially and otherwise into these issues that are of the fierce urgency of now that you've really captured, I think, in the tone and tenor of this discussion. Thank you very much.
All right, y'all eating away at your time now.
Good evening.
Y'all jump in.
Good evening. I am a preacher, a Baptist preacher. I'll start there. And so the microphone has been lifted this way. I am Pastor Ronald Holmes. I'm the pastor of Gethsemane Missionary Baptist Church. I'm also the president of the Greater Hartford Interdenominational Ministerial Alliance. I'm also a social worker with the Department of Children and Families. So I wear quite a few hats. One of the things that I wanted to express tonight and to really fall in sure of is through the organization itself, we need to help our children regain their hope. The Bible says in Hebrews 11:1, now faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. And some of the things that aren't seen is the disparities that happen with children of color. We have partnered as an organization. We've partnered with the Board of Education. We've partnered with several organizations throughout the city to actually allow pastors to come together, crossing denominational lines, and to come outside of the church into the city and to show ourselves useful and to show ourselves ready to get busy and get some of the work done. One of the things that often happens among us as people, we realize and we recognize as a people that the church has always been the forefront, and the church has always been the foundation, and the foundation is still here. The foundation is still ready to do what we've been instructed to do, not only in the welfare of our religion and our understanding of who God is, but to make sure that when hope is lost, that we are the sounding voice for hope. And our children, a lot of our children in the greater Hartford area are lost in hope. Many of them don't look to education as a way out. If it's not a basketball, it's not a football, education is far behind. And so part of our mission is to make sure that education is on the forefront. And to do that, we have to come outside of the four walls called the church. And the church then becomes the community. It's believed by many of us that it takes a village to raise a child. It's my personal belief that it takes a church to raise a community. And so for a church to raise the community, all of us need to speak. We all need to be together. And that means agreeing to disagree on certain issues, but then setting aside our egos, setting aside our boundaries, and then pulling together, because the real fight is to fight for the rights of our children. And our children deserve our fight. They deserve a voice, and we want to do that collectively. We've joined with the NAACP. We've joined with some other local organizations in the greater Hartford area, and we will continue to do so. When the voices aren't heard, then things get passed. And so we're not afraid also to connect with all of our clergy persons inside of the politicians area, and to make sure that even when issues are being passed, sometimes laws and bills get passed because no one says anything. Well, guess what? We're ready to say something. And so we are happy to be here tonight. We're thankful to the great men in Alpha Phi Alpha for willing to have this courageous conversation, and we're ready to work.
It's really difficult to follow a pastor. I resonated so much with what you were saying about we have to put down boundaries, we have to put down walls, and we have to work together. I want to say as well that I am seasoned, as one of the women said when she was up here before, and I'm feeling that urgency for our young people. The Governor's Prevention Partnerships brings many, many resources in, but mostly mentoring, and I'm preaching to the choir here because I think probably everybody in the room is a mentor. I want to tell you something that happened to us yesterday. We were in a school in the north end of Hartford, a very underserved school that's closing, so there's a lot of grief in the school and a lot of change going on there. And we were there to try to get investors for a new type of mentoring program. And there's a lot of investors in the audience, so hopefully we'll connect. This is a mentoring program that brings young people into the school all day, from 7 in the morning till 5 o'clock at night. So a mentor and a young boy, a 4th grader, went up to the microphone to talk to the audience. The little boy was very, very nervous. And he didn't get his words quite right. But then he looked around and he said, but I'm learning 3 things. When I get frustrated and angry, and I'm going to take it out on the other kids in the school, or I'm going to take it out in the adults in the school, I remember my 3 bullet points. And the first one is, please back away. Please step back and give me my space right now. The second thing he had in his head was, find a safe adult. Find an adult to talk to help me. And the third one was to find his mentor, Jay Kwan. Find Mr. Ford, because Mr. Ford isn't going to judge him. Mr. Ford can help him get back in his chair with his education, and Mr. Ford isn't going to give up on him. The thing that was the most remarkable, we hear these stories all the time whenever we're talking to our young children who have mentors, but what was remarkable for me is to see Jay Kwan standing next to him with his hand down on his shoulder. That human connection does bring the hope. You know, our children need to know that we're there for them, and that's why I'm so glad for this gathering today, but they need to sense that we're very, very close to them. We're not going to give up on them. So I guess my challenge today and what I want to walk away with is how do we get hundreds and hundreds of more people as mentors? The Governor's Prevention Partnership works with tons of mentoring programs. We can't find the mentors. For every 1 child that has a mentor, there's 3 more waiting. We can work with you. We can set programs up. If you're already doing a mentoring program in your faith community or another community, we can come in with training, with resources. And the other thing we love to do is bring corporations and corporate mentors in with schools and communities. So we are a resource. There is hope. I feel urgency because of my seasoned self, and I'm not going to give up. So I'm really glad to be here today. Thank you, Brandon.
So I'm going to stand up for a second. So every panel that I've ever attended, there's always been one really bad speaker. Everyone here has been great. So where does that leave me? So, good evening. Good evening. First of all, on behalf of Lambda Theta Phi Latin Fraternity Incorporated, I wanted to say welcome to the city of Hartford to Alpha Phi Alpha. I'm a founding brother, Alpha Lambda chapter. And there are 7 founding brothers, and I was Alpha 1, but I swear I was taller than Alpha 2. I don't get it. So, welcome. So, David Rosado, the police chief in the city of Hartford, the great city of Hartford, welcome to our great city. I was born and raised in this city. This is home for me. I love this city, and I'm very proud to be back home. I'm actually newer than you, Mr. Williams. I've been here since February of this year, and it's been, I think you said earlier, what did you get into? What did I get into? It's a challenge, but I'm happy to be here. Before I get into a couple remarks, I just wanted to turn to you and say, wow, what a powerful, powerful story that you have, and I think she needs another round of applause for a second. So the reason I say that is I walked into your very shoes. So I grew up in the south end of Hartford. I grew up in Charter Oak Terrace, if anyone knows Charter Oak Terrace. I walked every day, Flatbush Ave, up to Mary Hooker School, and at the end of the day, I would go into the Southwest Boys Club every day religiously. I would go from 3 to 5. There was a break for dinner for 5 to 6. I would go home, then I would come back from 6 to 9. And that, the Boys Club of America, Boys and Girls Club of America, was a significant influence in my life. So I'm just so happy that I'm sharing the stage with you. So youth violence, unfortunately, you know, it's a tough city. It's a great city, but we experience big city problems. We had one particular incident where a young person was shot. It's a very timely issue. Before tonight's conference, I was in the mayor's office along with a group called Peace Builders. And Peace Builders is an organization that responds to every shooting involving someone who's young, and they go to the hospital and they meet with the family members, and they set up a structure where they're going to try to support that particular child to get them out of the situation they're in. You know, we talk about policing. I'm a police officer, but this is not a policing problem. It's a society problem. It involves multiple people, multiple layers. It involves education, but most importantly, it involves parents. It involves schools. It involves great organizations. It's a tough, tough problem. What are we doing in the police department? Mr. Williams talked about community engagement. We pride ourselves on that. My priority in the police department is servant leadership. Everyone in this room, you are my boss as a police officer. I am here to serve you. That is the message that I give to our officers. We serve the community. Long gone are the days where an officer can feel like he or she can talk down to a member of the community because they wear a badge and gun. That's not going to happen in this police department in this city. Our goal is to be open, transparent. We hear that word a lot, but it's a philosophy that we live. We open our doors, we're transparent, and we're held accountable to you. I'm going to end on one little thing that we do. We have what we call a community service officer program. This is the community engagement part, Mr. Williams, that you talked about earlier. There's 17 separate neighborhoods in the city of Hartford. Every single neighborhood has a community service officer assigned to that particular neighborhood. His or her job is to get to know the city, get to know that neighborhood, get to know the folks, the young folks, the community leaders, and to respond to them and to respond to their concerns. These are tough meetings where community leaders, community residents ask tough questions. They ask us tough questions. What are you doing to quell the violence? What are you doing to do this? What are you doing to do that? Every single meeting, an officer stands before that person and answers the tough questions. If you go, a lot of folks from around the country, I got to tell you, there's not a program like that around the country in many areas. That's something we're proud of here. We're accountable to the people. And I, as the chief of police, tell you that I serve you and I'm accountable to you. And with that, I'll say thank you.
We have an amazing chief because he'll keep going, and sometimes we gotta bring him in. He's a good chief though. He's really good. All right, so that we can speed it along, y'all, brevity is powerful. Go ahead, Charlene.
Thank you. So we had to say that while I have the microphone.
I know. Go ahead.
But thank you, and I so appreciate to represent the voice of the Department of Education. Connecticut is home to. Thank you. Connecticut is home to nearly 539,000 students in our public education system. Did you know that? 539,000 students, pre-kindergarten to grade 12, and they're educated in 1,062 schools. There's a lot of work to be done, and I'm so happy and thankful for the opportunity to speak with you, which we had a lot more time, but maybe we can engage over some questions. But the idea is it's great to have your voice in this space, to be able to talk about how do we mobilize influencers and change makers, folks who are willing to move from talk to action, which is really what you're talking about. I wanted to share a little information with you, just data, and I won't be long, but I think it's important to have information so we can speak from a place of knowledge. Now I want to talk about school discipline. That is suspensions, expulsions, in school and out of school suspensions. And in Connecticut, nearly 40,000 students received at least one in-school suspension, out-of-school suspension, or expulsion in the 15-16 school year. And we call that exclusionary discipline because they're truly being excluded from the education center. And what I can tell you is that exclusionary discipline rates for blacks and Hispanic males are 2 times that of their white counterparts. And the rate of suspension and expulsion for black females is approximately 5 times that of their white counterparts. And over 62% of those incidences resulting in in-school suspension or out-of-school suspension or expulsions were classified as school policy violations, a category that has been noted for its subjectivity and disproportionality. It's what researchers call the 3 Ds: defiance, disrespect, and disorderly conduct. And if we were to poll the room and say, what does defiance look like, or disorderly conduct, we all would probably have a different perspective. So there is subjectivity. And exclusionary discipline is also impacting our younger students. And so our recent data show that 1,674 children in pre-K through 2, it's grade 2, were suspended, either in school or out of school in the 15-16 school year. And of those, 1,098, 71% of those were black or Latino. And of that, close to 60% of them were black or Latino boys. So do you get the trend of what it is that we're talking about? And we know why this is an area of interest, because there's a Johns Hopkins study that showed students, 9th graders, who were suspended only 1 time. They were twice as likely to drop out of school. So if we're talking about addressing the achievement gaps or the opportunity gaps, it is an area of concern. Now, from the department, we are doing a lot from our perch, from the policy level, but we really need soldiers on the ground, working in community, working with families, and working directly with our schools. And we do have data. We call it data. People get nervous about, but it's information. And the state does have a data portal and website. You could go right on our website, and you can get information for your school district, and in some cases, even information down to the grade level. So it is really important that your voices are heard as you're working with families. I'm so pleased that we have a pastor on the panel of these really great panelists of change makers, because there is a space for a faith community to work with families and to work with our students in making sure that we can address them. Thank you for sharing your story, because what we want schools to be are places where those connections can be made early, recognizing when students are experiencing difficulties and be able to adjust and may not be able to do it themselves, but work with partners in order to address the issues of concern. The one other area I'll say before I get the hook off the stage is the area of having teachers of color, educators of color into our system. We are a state that, when we think about data, we're looking for racial, ethnic, and linguistic diversity of our educators statewide. And while the race, ethnic composition of students is changing in our state, our teaching force remains quite homogeneous. 92% of our educators are white in Connecticut. And so this is my real-time call for those of you in this space to think about teaching and to be a part of change makers. We're doing a lot around establishing partnerships, and from the policymakers, you are doing something really great. Our 4 universities based on law in 2016 are offering classes to juniors and seniors for free who are interested in teaching. So there's a lot of information there. But I'll just end, and then I'll answer, we'll take your questions. But it is really important to recognize the need for every voice to be heard. And there's a quote, John Maxwell, in his book, The 17 Indisputable Laws of Teamwork. And he talks about law number 1 is the law of significance. And he said, if it's significant, it takes a team. Then it goes on to say, one is too small a number to achieve greatness. And I would say it is significant for our students to be where they are, and we need all of us to join together as a team with righteous indignation that it is not okay for kids not to succeed, and we need to rally our army together to get the job done. Thank you.
Good evening. Once again, my name is Scott X. Esdale. I'm the state president of the Connecticut NAACP. I'm also the national board member of the NAACP that represents the East Coast region also. So I'd like to give greetings on behalf of the National Board of Directors, our national president and CEO, Mr. Derek Johnson, and on behalf of all of the members of the Connecticut NAACP. I'm going to come from a little bit more militant perspective. I'm also the National Criminal Justice Chair of the NAACP and also the boxing commissioner. So on behalf of all those, I give greetings to the mighty Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated and all the other fraternities and sororities in the house. But once again, I'm coming from a more militant perspective. I know that the Alphas had one of the great militants of our civil rights historical perspective, and that was Dr. Martin Luther King. And Dr. Martin Luther King took it to the streets. And he was a voice for the voiceless. And he spoke on behalf of the downtrodden and those despised and rejected in the highways and in the byways. And I come in that same spirit, and I want to talk to you a little bit about what's going on in the neighborhoods that a lot of us come from. One of the major pieces right now is that in 1986, 6,000 people were incarcerated across the state of Connecticut. It went up in its heyday during the mass incarceration era all the way up to like 24,000. Now the legislature and the governor are striving to get it back down under 10,000. Now we have 14 to 15,000 people coming back into our communities. The question is, are we ready for them coming back into our communities? Are we prepared to house them? Are we prepared to clothe them? And are we prepared to put them to work? Now, I'm going to tell you another thing that we've done, meaning the NAACP. In 2013, we did a report on the hospitals in the state of Connecticut. There's 29 hospitals across the state of Connecticut, and the hospitals are the major economic engines in all of the urban areas throughout the state of Connecticut. When the factories left, the hospitals became the #1 employers in the major urban areas in the cities. Not only here, but all across the nation. If you go into the major cities, the hospitals are the #1 employers. When we did an evaluation and assessment of the hospitals, when we did the makeup of the boards of the hospitals, 99.9% all white. When we looked at the senior management positions, 99.9% all white. We looked at mid-level management positions. Once again, the same results, and on and on and on. When you found our people, the majority of them were cleaning toilets, cleaning floors, and making beds. And there was no upper mobility for our people when they got in there. So we put out this report in 2013, and we also wanted to know who was doing business with the hospitals. And out of the $5 billion that they spent in procurement, only $100,000 was spent with African-American owned businesses. It's criminal what's going on in urban areas throughout the nation. We're wondering why there's so much poverty and no jobs for our people and no business for African-American owned businesses. It has to change, and we need not only the NAACP, not only the church, but also the fraternities and sororities to upgrade the militancy to make a change. I'm not talking about grabbing guns and anything like that. What I'm talking about is getting more aggressive, putting more pressure on these institutions, and getting better results. I'd like to say this in closing. A lot of this has to do with our lack of stability around GOTV, meaning get out to vote. I'll say that again, get out to vote. Now, around Obama, we all came out in record numbers. And right after Obama, we all fell down and let them take over the country again. That's our fault. And it's imperative that the Divine Nine, the NAACP, the churches, the Masons and the Elks. We all collectively get together, sit down at the table, and demand our memberships to get out in the streets, knock on the doors, deliver the vote, and make sure that we get a change in our communities. We have to stop sitting on our hands and sitting comfortably in this country. If we want better results, we must get active, we must get aggressive, we must upgrade the militancy and get the results for our people. Thank you.
So I think that was a great segue, and I'm really happy that you ended, because I really want to open up this conversation to those of you in this room, just to bring it back to this idea of promoting positive youth development. And that's sort of how we started our conversation on this evening. What I'd like to do is to really challenge all of you in this room that represent different states, even countries, and you're here tonight because you care. And so what I'd like to do is ask a very general question, and each of you from your different backgrounds, you don't all have to talk, but perhaps one of you can enlighten us on what you're doing to combat poverty and youth violence and police brutality, and perhaps even the lack of resources that are being given to certain areas in many of our urban centers. But I don't want to drive the conversation because I kind of know where I want to go. But I want to open the floor for each of you in this room to ask some very hard questions. Now we have 10 more minutes to engage them. They've spoken already. Now we want to hear from the rest of you in this room. So if you have any questions, there are mics here. If we have ushers, you can grab the mic. Some of the brothers of Alpha Phi Alpha, BSL chapter, y'all stand up, grab a mic, and just wave your hand if you would like to ask any of our panelists a question. And let me just say this. Don't give us too much commentary. Get to the question. All right? We only got 10 minutes. We're going to start with this fine lady here.
Thank you for your comments. I would like to know, particularly from the young lady from the Department of Education
Charlene,
in the state. Is there anything being done to the persons or teachers for training, cultural competence training, diversity training of these teachers, which most of whom are of the majority culture, when you have people, children, kindergarten to second grade, being suspended and expelled from school? Because I don't know anything that a 6-year-old could say to me that I can't straighten out on my own.
All right, thank you. Charlene?
Thank you so very much for the question. As I said, I had a lot to say, but had to shorten it. And one of it was, what are we doing about it, right? So we can identify the problem, but what's the solution? And you get right to the point. And we are indeed working with our districts. In some cases, we're doing it ourselves. Sometimes we're working through a district to provide a variety of training opportunities around implicit bias, around culturally responsive teaching, classroom management. And so that's a new area of work for us, and not just us at the department, but working a lot with our partners around doing that. And we've identified the districts. We have some districts that are getting a lot of love from us, and so we're working directly with those in a very laser-like way to address those issues. Thank you.
I'm just going to hop over here and then come back. Go ahead, brother.
Good afternoon. All right, good afternoon. My name is Landon Mialis. I'm from the Hampton Roads area. So, I mean, I definitely got to say thank you for your discussion this afternoon. And you all have a well put together team on the panel now. My question is, with the parents, what are being done for the parents in these homes? What skills are out there to help you help the children through parents? Because that's where it starts. It starts at home. And then, of course, you would have this panel here that would bring things in the community that would then help then further the child. What is being done to help the parents?
So sort of parental engagement and really connecting with the family unit. Jay?
I can speak to a program that I just was conversing about last week. It's called Hartford Parent University. and I had a conversation with a woman who talked about how she and her experiences as a parent and the difficulty she had engaging and navigating the school system and trying to not see the teacher as an adversary, but to see the teacher as a partner, but understood that it needed to come through a collaborative effort. So this is a program that we have supported through the foundation and are looking to even expand that support, where it helps parents to understand, to build the skill sets, because the parents obviously are advocating for their children, but sometimes the parents don't know how to advocate for their children in the context of working with the teacher, working with the system, working through being able to assert and assert themselves and not sort of just, you know, be a quiet laying down and take it as it comes. So that is a model that I was excited to hear about. And there are other capacity building programs that we invest in that really are about directly engaging the parents, providing them the resources, the support that they need so they can be an advocate for their children. Because to have something go on in the classroom and not have it reinforced at home, you know, that is lost. And each day the teachers then find themselves trying to make up, reinforce. So that's just one very succinct example. And we're excited because they're trying to then take that model and have it work in other parts of this region across the state and even in other parts of the country.
And if I could just add to that as well, as at the state level, it's also working with our school districts so they can know how to engage families. And we are doing that work. We have we call it a Commissioner's Roundtable for Family and Community Engagement in Education, where every quarter we meet with a group of very diverse folks from across the state so they can engage directly with the Commissioner of Education around issues of interest in education. But we are indeed actually attaching to what Jay talked about, working with our districts so that they have the skill set and teachers and administrators to engage families as well.
Can I just add on the teacher piece? I don't know if everyone knows, but the NAACP also partnered with the State Board of Education around minority teacher recruitment. And what we've done is try to create a pipeline with the HBCUs in the South. So out of the 100 HBCUs across the country, 30 of the HBCUs have teacher colleges on their campuses. We had the 30 presidents of the universities, along with the deans of the university of the colleges, come up to Connecticut at Yale University and have a conversation with the State Board of Education, along with all the principals and superintendents that make decisions around hiring. We're striving to create a pipeline of those young people that are graduating to come up here and get jobs here in the state of Connecticut. So that's one piece that we're working on.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is James Wilson. I'm a member of Kappa Phi Lambda chapter in Howard County, Maryland. I live in Washington, D.C. And thank you, brother. We oftentimes talk about in our conversations about our youth, about a lot of lack and limitation, and we do have a lot, but you know, there's some instances where there's so much abundance, and we really have to work from that perspective if we at all can. And I had an opportunity in the year 2000 to be here in Hartford, Connecticut, when I was invited on Capitol Avenue to the state capitol, where there were Native American elders who decided to take on some community work, and they came to Hartford and took on 2 third-grade classes. I believe a woman by the name of Trudy Merrill took me there, but they said what they were going to do at that time was they were going to take these 2 third-grade classes, and they were going to take these youth through the educational process as far as they wanted to go, financially, mentoring, so on and so forth.
What's your question, brother?
I want to know how that program with those Native American elders from Foxwood, how it actually worked out, and if it is still something that's going on at this particular point in time.
Yes, as a member of the Black and Latino Caucus, and I sat at Trudy Merrill's table, God bless her soul. She's been and was an extremely intelligent woman, but was also a well-respected individual. Those relationships still remain right here in Hartford with Foxwoods and the tribe, and they give back on a regular basis. That now has transitioned into former State Representative Marie Lopez Kirkley Bay, who established the additional relationship. So I appreciate you asking that question and know that that work is still being done. Thank you. All right, so we have members of our host committee cutting off the questions because we really want to transition and get out of here by 8:30 as we promised. Is that cool? Is that cool? All right. So we're going to jump over here to this young lady and go ahead and ask your questions.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Cameron Young, and I am currently a representative from the back of half as far as Miss Black and Gold, and I'm running for Miss Eastern Region. And my question is, with the lack of patience that professors or teachers have with the conduct of our youth, which forces them to use extreme disciplinary actions such as suspensions and expulsions, what do you feel would be, or how do you feel about allowing teachers to now be able to carry weapons inside of our public school systems, since they're not even able to deal with students on a personal level? How do you feel like this will affect us as youth with them being able to carry guns?
I would think the same thing that's happening with our youth with the police same thing is going to happen with the teachers. They're going to be shooting our kids in the classrooms. So I'd also like to say,
go ahead,
if I can, you talked about the conflict. The conflict is that 85% of the teachers are white women from the suburbs, and the conflict is with young black males. And this has been going on since we've been here, with white women and black men. And the results are a school to prison pipeline. And young men were going to jail back then, young men were getting lynched back then, and young people are getting lynched in the criminal justice system now.
Chief Rosado, would you like to respond to that? That is a very loaded question, and I'm almost certain that each of them would have something to say. But I want the chief to end off.
I can tell you the standards to carry a weapon are more than what you would think, right? It's not just carrying a weapon and going to a range, qualifying one day. There's a lot that comes into it. I don't know, I'm not going to get into the political aspect of teachers carrying weapons, but I can tell you for law enforcement, before you can even carry a weapon, there is hundreds of hours of training that goes into that. You have to understand case law on how to use of force case law. It's a very difficult question, and I would prefer that my teacher teaches and let the other folks do what they do best.
A very good evening to you. My name is Brent Solomon. I'm seated in Richmond, Virginia at the Beta Gamma Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha. A quick comment and then a question. Comment for the pastor. Thank you for the work you're doing, because too often we're hearing our churches being confined within those four walls. And they come to church and give their offering and shout and go home, and then there's no action. I would encourage you to partner, if you're not already doing it, with as many black churches as possible to get more people on board. One comment made to me a couple of minutes ago was, if you look into the community and see where our black churches are located, 9 times out of 10, they're in communities where if you have a choice of where your children go, you won't send them there. We got to do something about it. Keep that up. Police chief, in a time where we're seeing black men being arrested for simply walking into a store, and when we're seeing, or a coffee chain, I should say, and then when we see rappers being glorified as heroes and saints, despite their criminal convictions, whatever your thought process is behind that, I'm curious to know, what do we need to do to make sure that our youth are getting positive interactions with police officers before they're exposed and participate in the criminal element?
That's a great question. So it's an everyday process. It's an everyday process where an officer has a responsibility to get out of his or her car and to get to know the community that they serve. We live and work in a very busy city where our officers are going from call to call. I recently got up before an audience like this, and one of my goals and priorities was to make sure that our officers are actually talking to the folks. Well, one of our local writers, who's well respected in the city, talked about our staffing problem. And we do have a staffing problem here in the city, and the mayor is a big supporter of getting our staffing where it needs to be. In our office, and the point of the story was, well, the officers can't get out of their car because they're running from call to call. My response is this: a good officer is an officer who handles all of his or her calls. They go from call to call and they respond to the community's needs. A great officer is one who handles all of his needs but still makes time to get out of their car to get to know the people that they serve. That's where it starts in my book.
Hi, my name is Duffy. I'm co-founder of Harper Proud Drill Drum and Dance. This is a question for the Reverend. I was listening to your, the words you were saying, very encouraging. The word hope you were looking at. I really love what you were saying about the hope. But my question is, what about replacing dreams back into these kids? Our kids lost dreams in this community. How about replacing those?
Absolutely. They actually go hand in hand. When a child knows what hope is, then they can dream. Unfortunately, some of their dreams have become nightmares because they aren't given the opportunity to actually walk in that hope. And so it's our hope and our desire that we now support them in learning how to dream and learning that hope is alive and that there are organizations like a church that is here to actually help them. One of the things that we also do is to try to help the pastors as well as laymen to understand where they are in helping with children. Just because I'm the pastor doesn't mean I know everything. So it's my job then to seek out those who specialize in those certain areas. We know and we should know that everybody that shouts in church is not shouting because of the Holy Ghost. Some of that is mental health. Some of that is being hurt. Some of that is emotional. And so it's our job to also be able to identify that and then send that person to the source or to the area where they can get help in that particular area. We know God saves. We know Jesus saves. But we also know that God and Jesus have allowed us to be educated. So there are doctors and nurses that look like us. There are therapists and counselors that look like us. And that we need to make those referrals to those who are culturally competent to understand when we're crying about situations about Big Mama, it's not because we're crazy. It's because we recognize that the spirit of Big Mama is still around us. And we recognize that if those areas are then addressed, it's better than spoken to, and they aren't looked at as being out of their minds, or they're not looked at as individuals who don't have the ability to come outside of their current situation. So in regards to the children, yes, by all means, we want to help the children dream. And for them to dream, we have to instill some hope.
Y'all let Reverend Holmes know we're not giving an offering tonight, but that was good. So let's give them a round of applause for their insight, their time, their commitment. This is absolutely amazing. Ron, Jill, David, Charlene. Yeah. I don't want to mess it up. I'm afraid to even say it. You're going to teach me after this. Say it again. Josiah. I'm going to call you Jay. Scott, and we have my man Jay. Y'all please give them another round of applause. So I know you've been sitting up here very uncomfortably. You all can now, if you'd like, you can step down from the stage, and we're just going to shift a little bit to, I believe, the most important part of this program, and that is recognizing all of our champions for youth and leadership development. I promise you we'll be out of here no later than 8:30, so please indulge in this next portion of our program. Before we do that, Alpha Phi Alpha, you gentlemen must be really, really important. We have our mayor, we have our council president, and we also have a member of the City of Hartford City Council as well here to just provide greetings. Y'all only get 30 seconds, okay? And we're gonna go in this order. We'll have our very own Gwendolyn Thames. She's gonna come up. You come on. Yep, you ain't even got to read nothing. You just come give greetings. This is our council president, Gwendolyn Thames. Y'all give it up for her.
Thank you, Brandon, and welcome to all of you who are members of the Eastern Regional Convention. We are so happy and pleased to have all of you. I know there are many states representative and international as well from the UK, South Africa. We are just so happy to have you, and we appreciate all the work that you're doing. I have many Alpha men in my family, so I am happy to be here with you, and we hope that you enjoy your stay. We hope that you got some knowledge and really empowerment for your spirit as we move forward, because what we have in this room is social capital, and we need to double down on that, reflect on that, and realize that when we go out into the world and fight for issues on our behalf of our communities. So I just want to thank you for all of the work that you do in your organization and fraternity. Keep up the great work. We look forward to continuing to partner, and remember that social capital. Thank you.
We have one more representative from the City Council, and then followed by that, we're going to have our Honorable Mayor of the City of Hartford, Luke Bronin. TJ.
Thank you, Brandon. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm happy to be amongst the Divine Nine. I'm also happy to be here as a representative of the great Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. And I'm so glad to see our Province Polmark and my frat brothers there in the corner. So welcome to the City of Hartford. I hope that you enjoy your stay here. Enjoy our rich culture here downtown. Please continue the fight in the social justice movement. I think now is a time better than any that we need to bond together to make sure that our black and brown children have the resources that they need to make sure that they live a great life within the school systems and the urban communities. So again, welcome to the City of Hartford. It's my pleasure for you to be here. I do have some citations for the youth development organizations. Thank you for all the work that you've done. And again, good night and God bless you.
Good evening, Alphas. Welcome to Hartford. It is such an honor to have you here, and I want to say thank you to all of you and to Brandon for bringing this convention to the City of Hartford. You know, this was a tremendous panel. And I hope you all got to see some of the incredible leaders that we have in this community. I know he's about to be honored in a different way, but I just want to say one thing about Brandon. You know, we've got some tremendous legislators, and people I'm sure have been talking tonight about second chances and reentry. There's a little bit of that in discussion. Brandon has been a true champion for criminal justice reform, making Connecticut a second chance society, and focusing on reentry. And I just want to say thank you for the work that he does. But I also want to say thank you to Alphas for what you do to make sure that we're not just focusing on giving second chances, we're focusing on giving young boys and girls of color better chances in the first place. And through your focus as an organization on academic achievement, on excellence, on community support and community development, and on simply being role models, that's what you do. And I know that here locally, Alphas and members of the other fraternities and sororities have played a hugely important role in helping us to build mentorship programs that help us show the young people in our community that there is a reason to hope and there is something to dream for. And so I just want to say thank you and God bless you for all that you've done as an organization. And lastly, let me say this. When you break, I'm sure you've got some, you know, refreshments and things here, but I hope you go out and spend a little money in the City of Hartford. Take care, everybody.
At this time, I'd like to bring to the podium my brother, Abdul Rahman Muhammad, and he will do his thing. It's time to present these awards.
We should be raising children and praising children. We would have some amazing children, potential reach to the ceiling. New communities I'm building, negativity I'm shielding. No more hating and pain and killing. I'm turning crooks into books with the worms in it. I'm turning thieves into kids that make A's and B's while they lead. No more getting felonies, hating and the jealousy. My brothers and sisters help me. That's the way it's supposed to be. I bring my people close to me. My people mean the most to me. I just want my folks to see unity, that's the key. The only thing in life that's for free is LOVE. Not to mention the air we breathe. It's time for us to roll up our sleeves. It's time for us to go out and achieve. It's time for us to really believe there's something we can do to change these things. We really need to rearrange our dreams. Stop sleeping, wake up, you know what I mean? They stopping us with all of their schemes. They're telling us we can't do anything. They're holding us back. They're pulling us down. They're turning our smiles into some frowns. They got us made up like we were some clowns. They made us forget we wear beautiful crowns. And we're taking it, not making a sound. Like we're in the water and we're being drowned. Like we're in a fight and we're being pounded. We might as well be 6 feet underground. Everything that is lost is not always found. What goes around don't always come back around. I'm standing here on top of the mound and asking, no begging out to the whole crowd. Do something right now. Don't wait, the world is hurting. You can make a change, just you if you hurry. Free your mind and your soul, and let's help everybody. We should be loving children and hugging children. No more having bugging children, pulling slugs from our children. Back to setting curfews, no more saying words that hurt you, stopping all the pain and the single mother blues. Using our minds as tools, minding our kids like they're jewels. Imagine what we'll find if we cultivate their minds. Father, spend a little time. Let them know in this crazy world everything will be fine. It should be a crime not to be kind. Love our children so much that they shine till we're blind. So I speak in poetry, but I want to very quickly get to these recognitions of all these great organizations here in the city of Hartford and the greater Hartford area that are doing wonderful work. So please hold your applause so I say them all. You're going to go over to where Brandon is. You're going to get their awards. So first up, we have Active City. Active City. Go ahead and give them a round of applause, of course. Ascend Mentoring. The Boys and Girls Club, we've heard great things today about the Boys and Girls Club. Calling All Brothers, the wonderful Calling All Brothers, yes. Compass, we have Compass here, I saw Jackie, yes. E equals MC squared. Hartford City Mission, Hartford Youth Scholars. Oh, are y'all doing a picture for, oh, it's like one at a time? I thought you were banging them out. Are the Hartford Proud still here? The kids, are they still here? All right, all right. Y'all got them drums back there? Let me hear them drums, man. I mean, they slowed me up. Go ahead, give us this a little intermission. They let me get on the mic. I'll just change up the whole program. Mistake number one. Harvard Proud is going to actually let me be their drum major for this event they're doing called Stomp the Violence Out. I think it's May 24th, May 26th at the Yargo Stadium. I'm going to be the drum major, and it's going to be crazy. So y'all should all come out to that event on May 26th to Hartford Proud. While they take pictures. Y'all ready, young men? Next up, Hartford Proud. Give it up for Hartford Proud. Right now, or all right. Heads Up Hartford. I met them earlier. Heads Up Hartford. See, y'all didn't know I was hosting this part. I was trying to get to know you. Look at that. They have a great summer camp, from what I understand. Yeah. Our Piece of the Pie. Yeah, got a group. So, actually, Brandon, I'm going to go ahead and explain to everybody that the awards that they're getting tonight are these are some special awards created by the African Heritage Collection. Each award has a different meaning. So, one of the awards is called the Angel of Blessings Award, and the angel symbolizes peace, humility, and love for humanity. The carving depicts the image of a figure of a kneeling pose with hands in a halo formation over its head. It honors those motivated by that special love to give, protect, nurture, unite, and bring the best out of others around them. So these are so there's an African proverb that goes with it as well. He who wakes up in the morning has received a bundle of blessings. There's also the Wisdom Mask Award. The Wisdom Mask Award honors an individual or organization that embraces diversity and inspires others into action and think outside the box. It is a recognition of their passion and desire to strengthen the bonds between people and achieve results that have long-lasting positive influences on society. And the African proverb that goes with that one is, if you are filled with pride, then you have no room for wisdom. Next up, the Legacy Foundation. Give it up for the Legacy Foundation. The last award they have is the Shining Star Award, and the Shining Star Award honors outstanding leadership above and beyond the call of duty. It honors recipients driven by innovation and excellence to motivate and inspire others to action, ultimately improve the quality of their life and all concerned. The African proverb is, success and laziness do not sleep together. So these are like better than just your normal award. These are the African Heritage Awards. All right, the Urban League Young Professionals of Greater Hartford. Yes. Also the Wilson Gray YMCA. Hit it, Hartford Proud. Hit it. Okay, Young, Educated, Determined to Succeed Incorporated. Young, Educated, Determined to Succeed Incorporated. And last but not least, Youth Challenge of Connecticut. Hit it, Hartford Proud. And last but not least, Urban Alliance.
Let's give them another round of applause. All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Just a couple announcements, and then we're going to get out of here. I know somebody needs their debit card, so I want to say, Brother Cunningham, if you want to come get your card, okay? This got a lot of money on it. That's all I'm going to say. Okay. Few more announcements. You all, please take advantage of our photo booth out there, all right? We need to utilize it, so y'all snap it up, Instagram, do your thing. The other thing, we're gonna have a reception immediately following this program. Oh, what's the hashtag? Communications Director, where are they? I guess ERC 2018, Public Program. ERC, Eastern Region Convention 2018. And that's my dad asking me about a hashtag. What do you know about a hashtag? Also, just another plug, our signature Old Gold and Black banquet will be held on Saturday evening at 7:30. FYI, Jamoki will be providing us with all types of great sounds. Their band, which is a local school here in the city, they will be providing us with some great music. We have a few tickets available for purchase. Please visit our registration booth right outside the doors here between 8 and 5 tomorrow, or we'll make some accommodations tonight because we would love your money. Amen. And then, I would be remiss if I didn't thank my chapter president, the Beta Sigma Lambda chapter president, and Brother Glenn Spencer. Could you all just give Brother Spencer a round of applause? He is an amazing person, and he really provides us with great opportunities to shine and to develop as young people. So Glenn, thank you so much for the work that you do. I would like to invite to the podium just to give final remarks and to do what he does best, and I'm really proud of this young man, having just met him, Brother Bimbo, I'm sorry. See, I done messed up, and your name ain't on the program, so it really threw me off. But he is a leader in the Eastern region, and we want to invite him to the podium. Give him a round of applause. And then immediately following him for our benediction, we're going to have Brother Reverend Dr. William Jackson, Jr. He's going to come and pray us out. Before our recipients leave, we have citations for you, so please come back up to the podium and I'll provide you with your citations. Thank you so much for coming out on tonight.
Good evening, everyone. I am James Bimbo III, and I serve as the Assistant Executive Director of the Eastern Region. I want to begin by saying I want to thank all the panelists. You guys did great this evening, and I believe that we should give them another round of applause. On behalf of our Vice President, Brother Metalis, Assistant Vice President, who can be with us today, Brother Daniels, and all of the brothers of the Eastern Region, we would like to thank you and really appreciate you all for attending the public program this evening. We wish you best travels, and thank you again.
I'm sorry, we do have one other thing. So with my fellow colleagues, could you just please join me? Sometimes I forget, I still have to do the official political stuff. But I do have a citation on behalf of the state of Connecticut General Assembly, introduced by myself, Brandon McGee, Representative Joshua Hall of the 7th District, and Senator Douglas McQuarrie of the 2nd Senatorial District. Be it hereby known to all that the Connecticut General Assembly hereby offers its sincerest congratulations to Lucian Matilis, Vice President, Eastern Region of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. Now they have these really interesting sort of text on here. Just know that it says congratulations, all right? I have 2 degrees and I can read, but I always tell my staff this is hard to read. So, Brother Matillis, please come to the podium. Y'all stand to your feet and give my president, my vice president, a thunderous round of applause for his leadership.
Let's stand together. Let us bow our heads. Oh God, we come before you because we realize that the tasks that you have set before us are hard. But we also are overjoyed that the resources that you have given us are abundant. The gifts that are represented in this room, both public and private, we thank you for. We thank you for the elders in the room with their wisdom. We thank you for the youth in the room with their energy. We thank you for the partnership in both public and private institutions. We thank you for the church that stands as a sentinel in the community. We pray, Lord, that when the task and the road seems hard and arduous, that we be reminded of the gifts that you've given us and reminded us of what you have done for us in the past. A God who opens up the Red Sea and causes his people to walk on dry ground. A God who leads its people to the promised land. And so, Lord, we pray that as a community, church, the city, social justice, that you will guide us to the promised land because you are our God and you have given us the gifts to do so. Bless your people as they go out and as they come in, and let them know that there is still much work to be done. Amen and amen.
Hi, my name is Janice Castle. I'm the current